Progress.
Welcome everybody to another fun episode of the Indie Reads Aloud Super Sleuth Evening. This is our virtual book festival. We are doing 28 days of this madness. This is only day 2, so I'm still working out my hosting bugs. Bear with me, pretty please. So, welcome, sleuths, suspects, and witnesses. A crime has been committed. A book has been stolen from our local library, and we need to figure out who done it. Tonight, this is our nightly schedule. This is our nightly schedule throughout the month. I'm going to try to keep as close to the schedule as I possibly can so that we can all get out of here by 8 o'clock. Just a reminder, we will not be here on Valentine's Day, but if you want to send me brownies, I'm accepting them. Tonight, our author readings are from Julie Nelson and Angela Verges. We're going to have a great time. We're going to hear some readings, and then we're going to get into the mystery portion of our evening, where we will all have time to interrogate the suspects. If you missed the announcement of the theft, please go back and watch the replay from February 1st, and it will tell you everything you need to know, including give you clues that you might have missed along the way. So it's also good for those of you who were here to go back and watch the replay so you can pick up clues that maybe you forgot to write down. So welcome everybody to tonight's Night of Mayhem. To start our evening, we're gonna begin with 2 readings. The first, Julie Nelson is gonna read from her book, Shadows. Jules, ta-da, there it is. Do that one more time. Hold it up a little bit closer because I don't have copies of everybody's books this time. There it is, Shadows. So, Jules, when you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Okay. A knock on the door brought everyone's head up. A young man stepped into the kitchen. "Hey, James," Mark called. "Come have some breakfast. Emma made plenty." He pulled out the empty chair beside him. James Abernathy had been Mark's friend since the first day they attended school together. Almost from that same day, James had been finding excuses to come help Mark on the farm. Her older brother had gladly started sharing his farm chores with his town friend. Emma had figured James's fascination for farm life would have long ago lost its appeal, but so far it had not. His light blue eyes came to life with the hard work. "Are you sure there's enough?" he asked, eyeing the food, and then looked to Emma. Her nod was all the approval he needed. He sat down in the chair Mark held out for him as Emma got up to hand him a plate. With a quiet thanks, James filled the plate with flapjacks. "It appears I'll be heading to the mercantile today. Anything else you'll be needing to add to my list?" Emma retrieved her list from under the butter crock and placed it on the table. Mark reached for the list and studied it. "It's odd that we're needing both molasses and brown sugar after Seth spent 1 day cooking." Emma turned to see Seth's ears turn red. "Seth Wells, did you eat all of those sweets?" He laughed. "Would you believe they just walked out to me?" His blonde curls fell into his eyes, adding to his boyish charm. "I should make you go to town," Emma groaned. "I don't have time for town today," Seth answered her, then offered, "but I will fill the water buckets before I head out to the fields." Emma let out a long breath and started gathering the empty dishes. She was almost finished washing up the dishes when the men finished discussing their plans and headed out the door. Seth paused in the doorway to ask, "If I promise to stay out of the pantry, will you make me some of those ginger cookies?" Mark pushed him through the door with a muttered, "Rotten kid." Dad put his hat on his head with a chuckle and followed him all out the door. Emma found herself smiling. Silently, she reminded herself to add ginger to the list. Her kitchen was clean in no time, and she climbed the stairs to her room to change from her work dress to her new one. Selecting a bonnet from her hook, she gathered her things for the walk to the mercantile. Setting off for town, Emma found herself smiling again. There was a wonderful breeze. The weather had been a little warmer than she liked it to be, and putting on a bonnet for town was almost unbearable, yet necessary. She could imagine Mrs. Phelps's comments or Abigail's horror if she was to arrive in town with a bare head. At least the breeze makes the walk tolerable. The small town was already bustling with activity when Emma arrived. It is always busy on Saturdays. Tethered horses lined each side of the street. Every shop had people standing out in front. With miles between farms, there were not many chances for visiting. So when a trip to town was made, it was also a time to see other folks. Neighbors shared news with neighbors. Ladies tried to get their fill of female conversation. And during the summer months, kids also had fun with their friends. The noise alone made Emma cringe. She immediately wished she had waited until the following week. Surely they could have gotten by until then. I'm already here, so I might as well get the job done, she muttered to herself. She straightened her back and she forced herself to move towards the busy doorway of the mercantile. As she reached for the door, it flew open and two boys ran around her. A hand shot past her to stop the door before it slammed into her. She pushed her gray basket back up on her elbow and looked up into a pair of deep gray eyes. Emma blushed as she realized they belonged to the same young man that had rescued her earlier in the week. He touched his hat with a nod. Ma'am. She gave him a grateful smile as she hurried through the door. She maneuvered through the crowded store, finding all the things on her list. When she had everything that she could get by herself, Emma waited for her turn at the counter. She caught a glimpse of the man that stopped the door for her and studied him. He looked very familiar, she decided. I must have seen him around town and not realized it. She continued to watch him as he moved about the store. His dark hair was overgrown and waved slightly at the back of his neck. His tan face was clean and carefully shaven. However, it was his eyes that Emma kept being drawn to. The deep gray eye was unusual in itself, but it was something more. When she had looked into his eyes at the door, they seemed to be telling her a story of their own, almost like a storm of emotions. As he moved around the store and around people, she was surprised by how graceful he was for being so tall. Unexpectedly, the man turned and looked at her. Embarrassed that she had been caught staring, Emma turned away quickly and almost collided with someone. An arm steadied her with a chuckle in her ear. Careful now, Missy. Embarrassed again, she apologized and tried to move away. Now wait just a minute. I saved you from a spill. Least you can do is stand here and talk to me. Emma looked up. The man holding her arms was older than her by quite a few years. His fair hair was trimmed neatly and his bright eyes were amused. I thank you for your help, but I can stand on my own now, Emma stated politely, and she tried to move away again. The man laughed outright, but didn't release her. Imagine you could, but you could never be too sure. He looked around the crowded store before settling his eyes on Emma again. Are you married, little missy? Or are you hiding a man around here? He looked around the store again. Emma was tempted to lie, but she knew her mama would not approve. Looking for help from someone she knew, she realized that she was so short that she was mostly hidden behind the barrels of vegetables. She could see no one from her corner. She focused her attention on trying to back away from the man holding her arm, prying at his fingers. Emma didn't notice that she had been moved until she found herself fully in the corner and looking at someone else's back. Pardon me, ma'am, came the familiar voice. Looking up, she recognized the man from the door. With a small smile in her direction, he turned his attention to the shelves of food along the wall. Reaching up, he casually selected a coffee tin from the high shelf. As he brought his arm down to study the tin, his gaze settled on her face for a moment. The gray eyes again looked like a storm of emotions were brewing in them. Turning to the fair-haired gentleman who had cornered her, he spoke carefully. Ain't seen you around town before. You here looking at that shipment of horses? Her rescuer studied the tin of coffee in his hands, pretending not to notice the other man's annoyance. I ain't here to look at nothing except for farm, came the irritated reply. After a moment of silence, the fair-haired gentleman grudgingly asked, where are these horses? Oh, they're over to the blacksmith's corral. A northern rancher breaks them in real gentle, no finer horses. The gray-eyed man absently handed the tin of coffee to Emma. They're well-bred, they're in tough stock. Ranchers only bring them this way every couple of years. She found the stormy eyes on her again as he turned away completely, pointing towards the door. I'm heading back there now. I can show you the way if you want to see them. Emma held her breath as she waited for the fair-haired gentleman to answer. Much obliged, she answered. She released her sigh of relief a little too quickly. The older gentleman leaned around her rescuer and smiled at her. We'll continue our discussion when we meet again, he stated, before he sauntered out the door. The man with the gray eyes followed him without another glance in her direction. She rubbed her arm before turning back towards the counter.
Yay! Sign language clapping. Thank you so much, Julie. I always love hearing your readings. So much fun. So, next, we are going to have Angela Verges read. Angela's book is called Menopause Ain't No Joke. Can you hold it up real close so we can all see it? Menopause ain't no joke. All right, Angela, when you are ready, you have about 8 minutes. The floor is
Okay.
yours. Feel free to take the microphone and read aloud.
All right, I'm going to start a little differently. I'm going to start with one of the episodes from my book. So I'll just tell you, there's this old school pop song that says, "The men all pause when I walk into the room." Well, after a certain age, that song takes on a whole new meaning for me, because what I hear now is menopause. I've got men oh pause when I walk into a room. I've got men oh pause, and I'm sweating like a goon. Let me tell you about menopause. Menopause is in the middle of the night when you're punching, fighting, and kicking those covers because it's hot one minute, cold the next, hot, cold, leg in the cover, leg out of the cover. All of a sudden, you got a game of the hokey pokey going. You put your left leg in, you take your left leg out, you put your left leg in, and you shake it all about. And that's how some of my essays came about. And menopause ain't no joke. So I'll start with one of the essays. This one is titled "The Football Scrimmage." Commitment, dedication, devotion. These are the many things my teen son focuses on during his high school football season. The same is required for parenting through football season. This was evident on the first day of our scrimmage of the season. As I backed my car out of the garage, rain pelted the rear of the car. The sound of the drops increased in volume as the entire car emerged from the shelter of the garage. I adjusted my windshield wipers from slow to medium. There was a scattering of parents sitting on the metal bleachers when I arrived at the football field. I walked up with my stadium chair strapped on my shoulder, an umbrella in one hand, and a blanket under my arm. This was the blue and white game where the varsity players scrimmaged each other rather than another team. I stood along the chain link fence with my rain gear, debating whether I wanted to stand or sit. I stood, rain bouncing from my umbrella and my eyes scanning the field for my son. There were no numbers on the players' shirts. I could not see my son's signature dreadlocks dangling from his helmet. Heavy raindrops pelted my umbrella and dripped onto my back and down onto my pants. Within minutes, I was soaked and still searching for my son. I kept my eyes on the defensive players, wondering, why am I here? I couldn't identify my son from the other players. Commitment, dedication, devotion. Finally, I identified my son by his confident stride and his blue Nike cleats. Mission accomplished. I saw my son maneuver a couple plays, then shuffled my way back to my car. By this time, I felt like a toddler in a wet diaper. I just wanted to go home and change clothes. Once in the car, I sat a few minutes to collect my thoughts. This situation deserved to be a blog post. The players began to leave the field, and the game was called due to rain. Okay, that's just one of them. Here's another one. This one is titled "Being Recruited." Athletes are recruited all the time. My athletic abilities ended in the 80s, or when Jesus walked the earth, according to my kids. It was a time when my eyebrow hairs were brown and did not require an art degree to draw them on. My knees could still bend and glide across the floor in knee pads to dig for a ball smacked over the net in my direction. It was long ago that I carried a gym bag stamped with my high school mascot and stuffed with my volleyball uniform. Now, the only bags I carry are under my eyes. Yet, I was courted for a few years by AARP. I was in my mid-40s when the initial invite landed in my mailbox. Gifts were offered. However, I wasn't quite ready to sign up. I felt like I could still be considered a youngster. A few years passed and another letter arrived. This time, my signing bonus was the offer of a bag. It was smaller than the gym bag from my high school days, but large enough to carry a few books, and it was stylish. They almost got me on the team. Then the thought occurred, I have enough bags. Between the bags under my eyes and the saddlebags on my rump, I didn't think I could carry anything else. Okay, another one I have, this one is called the 10 Commandments of Menopause. Thou shalt not steal thy neighbor's fan at church. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's sweater when a hot flash arises and disappears. Thou shalt not adjust the temperature while riding as a passenger in another person's vehicle. Thou shalt not lie about experiencing the symptoms of menopause. Thou shalt not adjust temperature when visiting a friend's home. Thou shalt comfort a fellow menopausal friend. Thou shalt recite the menopausal oath. This too shall pass whenever you're feeling stressed. Thou shalt remain cool in hot situations. Thou shalt not kill thy neighbor's spirit while experiencing a mood swing. Honor thy mother and sisters who may have also felt menopausal, that your days may be more bearable. And those are the collection of essays, and menopause ain't no joke.
Yay! Always so much fun. Thank you very, very much, Angela. Also, for those of you who live in the Detroit area, watch out for Angela to appear at Ridley's Comedy Castle. She was there just recently, and I'm sure you killed the room. I didn't get a chance to come out, but congratulations on such an awesome opportunity to be on stage with your stand-up. It was very, very fun. Alrighty, everybody. This is the part of the night where we all get to do something a little bit different. There has been a theft. We are in a library. A theft has occurred. The sardonic manuscript has been taken from the reference shelves. We have 8 suspects, 6 of whom are in the room tonight. Chloe Holiday, she is a mysterious character. Melinda Falco is our researcher. Ruby Fink, who is not here this evening, is our psychic, but I am sure she is telepathically joining us. Andrew Allen Smith is an historical author. He comes and goes. We never really know what's going on with Andrew. Amy Kelso is our head librarian. She can be a bit of a crab. Jules Nelson is our library director, and she is very focused on her function as library director. Marianne Wieland is the manager of the cafe that is attached to the library, and Deborah Reed is our intrepid reporter. Now that you know who our suspects are, this is the time when we will open the floor to interrogate the suspects. Each of you gets to ask questions of our suspects, and they will answer you as truthfully as they can. Now, the reason I say that is because I am the only one who knows who the culprit is. The suspects don't even know. So if you happen to ask a question that is either irrelevant to our storyline or something simply that the suspect does not know, their reply will be, I have nothing to say about that. And that will tell you that it's time to move on to another avenue of questioning. So the question is, in the case of the missing manuscript, who took the book? And we will now open the room to interrogations. And if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand on screen so that I can see you and call upon you so that we don't miss anybody's questions. Please don't put them in the chat because I missed a couple of them last night. I don't want to do that. So let's start with Mark McGraw, please.
I have a question for the reporter, Deborah. I've been contemplating this all night long.
Oh, no.
No pressure.
Okay. Did you, I know you said yesterday or last night that you actually took a photograph of the area, the book and all that. Did you happen to bring a bag with you for your notebook and to put your camera in, etc.?
Well, I mean, I always bring a bag with me, whether I had it there or not. I can't really say because I had my setup at the computer next to Chloe and all that kind of stuff because I was going to use one of the computers because I really wanted to type up everything that I learned. But you know, it is kind of hard to carry everything without a bag. So,
Any other questions?
Thank you.
This is the time when everybody gets to play along. So jump in, ask your questions.
So Deborah, were you, oh, sorry. Were
No,
you
go ahead.
planning on writing about this, an article for your blog?
well, yes, I thought that the manuscript was a really great topic. And I mean, why not write about it? So I went. I mean, if I had known that there was going to be like so much going on about this and that the librarian was going to get all huffy and her panties in a twist, then I might not have gone that day. But, well, I can't change the past.
It is turning out to be an interesting story, though. Wouldn't you agree, Deborah?
Yes, actually, this has turned out to be so much better than I could have ever dreamed. I think this is going to be my career.
Mark,
Okay.
you had a question.
Yeah.
One question and one comment. Comment first. I'm going to watch the chat room in case anybody that's camera shy
Thank you. Thank
would
you.
like to just type in their questions and then I will interrupt you or relay them out.
Thank you.
One of the questions, and I don't know who it was from last night because I caught it just at a glimpse, but somebody made a comment about where did she go? Jules. Julie said that she was in her office with her earbuds on at the time that all the noise was going on when they discovered the manuscript was missing. But if she had her earbuds on, how could she possibly hear what's going on?
Well, they were making quite a ruckus. I mean, anybody could have heard that, even above my classical music that I was listening to. So,
Who was making a
Not
ruckus?
that loud. Just saying.
Who exactly was it that was making the ruckus? Because
it was definitely Melinda and Ruby. That's who I heard. They were making quite a spectacle about who took it off the shelf. So that's what I came out to. And then when I found the small origami horse that I saw it there, that's when I started asking around because that was definitely wouldn't just be somebody took it, they left it there. So that's when
I am appalled that there was loud conversation in a library. I mean, come on.
Oh
you
my
are
gosh.
appalled. Tell me
Oh.
about it. Oh,
You know, you can't
Yeah.
really expect much else from Linda. She just is always just.
tell me about it again. Troublemaker.
Do you expect me to do when there are creepy stalker guys like Mr. Andrew peeking over his Way of the Antiquities book? He seems awfully interested in things like treasure and gold. And I'll have all of you know that in my research, the sardonic manuscript, it's not just a genealogical reference. Oh, no, indeed. It's actually almost like a pilgrim's handbook to the treasures of the lost civilization. That sure
Oh.
sounds like something
Oh.
that Mr. Andrew
Yeah.
would be interested in to me.
So
Yeah, but
why
that
were you
much-
looking at it then?
Well, I of course am looking at it for records, the genealogical. I am, after all, a researcher.
Right, but what you have to think about, the racket that you and Ruby were making. Oh my God, I had to leave the cafe because of the racket.
Oh
was
my
just-
goodness.
Man, hopped up on all the caffeine. I'm about to ban both of you from the caffeine, but I'm too nice, so I can't really say that.
Well, since Andrew's not here to defend himself, I'm totally just throwing him under the bus because
Good.
I will let you know that when he was going on about his book, like Melinda was talking about, I mean, like we said last night, just pushing it on me, not reading the room. And he would not actually give me the book because I did try it one point. I was trying to be nice. So I thought, okay, sure, I'll look at the book. Wouldn't actually give it to me. Now, why do you think he wouldn't actually give me his book if he's like so excited to show it off?
That's a
very
very good
curious.
question. And I'm a little we're gonna have to ask him that question when he comes back. Hopefully he'll be back to the library tomorrow. But somebody in the room, make sure to ask that question. Does anyone else have questions for our suspects?
Like Mark does.
Mark, go ahead.
I'm just curious, as Deborah's describing Andrew's somewhat reluctance to actually let her see the book that he's pitching. Is it similar in size to the missing manuscript?
That's an interesting question. We don't have a lot to say about that.
But what's curious is when Andrew Smith actually sent me the first email asking if he could do this, I had never heard of him, and I've heard of quite a few authors, obviously in my line of work. So I politely told him that we just didn't have time in 2 weeks, at 2 week time, to put on any kind of an event and publicize it. So I told him that we regretted that we couldn't and thanked him for his thought. And he showed up anyways, without any knowledge. Me and Amy had no idea he was coming. So we were very unexpected. So I didn't even know that he was there accosting peddling his book to the other customers at the library. So
Well, and I'm just saying, if this librarian is so good at her job, why did she let him in? Just saying. I mean, I don't want to throw
What am
shade.
I supposed to do? Just kick people out? I've tried that, and some people go above my head and let her back in
here we
again.
go.
So I can't help when people come in or not.
you
Obviously, I'm not
talking about-
important enough to make those decisions, Miss Nilsson.
You just keep going on and on about this. You throw people out all the time. You're yelling at people and all this kind of stuff. What do you mean you don't have the power to throw someone out? He's not even supposed to be there.
I don't yell at people. Yelling at people would make a noise in the library, and I would never make noise in the library. I simply use my strong, quiet voice to tell them where they should go.
And you just let people in who really aren't supposed to be there, who like harass the other people who are actually there to do the actual work in the library. Okay.
I am curious, Chloe.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to this conversation? You have been particularly quiet the last couple of days.
I tend to learn more by watching, so that's kind of me. It was really noisy, but it was kind of entertaining.
God. Yeah.
To see the drama. I'm disappointed to hear that a book was stolen, though. That's terribly wrong. And I sure hope that they can find whoever did it.
I would say it sounds like Chloe is stalking you, Miss Melinda, not Andrew. She's just sitting around watching and listening to us.
Melinda, do you have anything to add?
Well, as I said yesterday, I was in the cafe at the time of the theft with Miss Ruby.
And how did you know when the theft was? If you were in the cafe?
Well, you kind of made it quite clear what time the theft was because you accused me of doing it. Of course, I had to stand up for myself and let you know what my alibi was. But
We don't
heavens,
know when the book left. We just know when we found that it wasn't there. You could have taken it before that and then went to the cafe. How do I know?
how do we know you didn't hide it somewhere else, Miss Librarian?
Mhm.
Oh my God.
Why would I hide it somewhere else? I always put things where they belong. Unlike some people who like to shelve things in the wrong place just to mess up things and make it hard on me.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be under lock and key in the first place. Why was it sitting back on the shelf?
Yeah, let's ask Miss Nilsson why I got back on the shelf. Huh?
Yeah, good question.
Well, nothing to say about that.
Ugh,
Well played.
see how you are.
Um,
Mhm.
So, here's what I'm curious about. Marianne, you're just what? Hanging out in the cafe? Are you telling me that you never walk into the library? I mean, the two rooms are attached.
No, I go into the library a lot because it's the only place that I can get peace and quiet. Because you see what goes
Thanks to
on in the
me.
cafe, you got that one and you got that one. If that reporter comes in, oh my God. I mean, I got to get out of there. So I had to leave. I gave them all their coffee. I had to leave, and I do that a lot. And I go and I sit. Actually, I left because I was looking for Julie. I had to talk to her about an event that was coming up, but she wasn't in her office like she always is that time of day. So I just had a seat and had some peace and quiet from those guys.
So,
You know why you can find peace and quiet in the library? I make sure of it.
Library.
Mhm.
so
Usually when people are
Melinda, I am very curious about why you're hanging out with a psychic.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk
Well,
about that.
You're a
psych.
researcher. What kind of research could you possibly be doing in the partnership of a psychic?
Well, truth be known, she came to me out of the blue one day as I was walking along and let me know that she had information that was very important to my past.
Oh my goodness.
And what about that past? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I'm not sure how much I really feel comfortable sharing with all of you. I mean, after all, it is my past, but I guess it would be okay if I let a little information out. You see, I was adopted. Yes, it's true. I was. And with my adopted parents gone, God rest their souls, I'm curious to find out who my birth parents were. And Ruby put me on the path to looking up my ancestral history in the sardonic manuscript. And as Miss Kelso will tell you, yours is the only library that has a copy of it. Of course, I came to research here.
Not
Where
anymore.
else?
Nice, Gary.
Thanks for reminding us. Yes.
So, we have about a minute left. Is there any other questions?
Looks like Mr.
Mark.
McCraw.
Yeah, so if Amy is really good at enforcing her rules, why and the reference material is left out, why is she allowing people to bring bags into the library if she's really good at her job?
There is no problem with having a bag in the library because all of the books are tagged. When you walk out of the library, it sets off the alarm. As Melinda very well knows from a week ago, when she tried to steal the book from right underneath me, the alarm went off. I told her not to, and I told her to never come back to that library again because that is my job, and I was doing my job exactly as I should. Thank you very much.
Well, why
here
did
we
you
go
allow
again.
why did
Why
you
did
allow
she
the
get in?
reporter? Why did
As
you
long
allow
as-
the I'm sorry.
Why did I have a bag? Because people come in with bags. That's what people do because they do research. But if she had left and set off the alarm, obviously I would have done something. I don't know where that book is. I don't know why it didn't set off the alarm this time, unless somebody messed with the book or somehow snuck it out in a way other than going in through the main doors.
Mark Love.
actually, Amy's comment there at the end just kind of took my question, because I was going to say, if the manuscript actually left the building, wouldn't the alarm sound again?
Exactly.
That's what I was. Possible the manuscript is still in the library. Perhaps it's been misfiled deliberately somewhere.
Mhm.
An
I will
interesting
tell
idea.
you-
Here's one more thing just to bring in. From Mackenzie in the chat, she says,
Ooh.
if Jules was in her office the whole time, why wasn't Marianne able to find her there?
That's what I wondered. That's what I was
Well-
wondering. Where was she?
I did get up for a while before that, and I did take a walk through the library and looked over some things I saw on the shelf and stretched my legs and stuff, and then went back in. But I had been in there for quite some time before I heard the
But you didn't
ruckus.
come for coffee like you usually do.
Well, Mark brought up a good point about it being misfiled. That's a possibility.
Okay, one
And
thing I will
that's
say. Oh, I will have to wait till
Amy,
tomorrow.
You're
I'll
gonna
wait
have
till
to
tomorrow.
wait till tomorrow. We are done with the interrogation portion of our evening.
I'll do my best to be quiet.
For- you know, I find it very interesting that our librarian is so talkative. Don't you find that interesting, you guys?
Yeah.
Repressed feelings.
Yeah, repress something, definitely.
Nothing is repressed except for quiet must be repressed, or noise must be repressed, but I am not.
All right, so we have finished with the interrogation portion of our evening. So those of you who are playing along at home and in the room, who did it? Double check, watch our replay, which will be posted at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning to collect more clues that maybe you missed before. Watch the previous episode from last night. Remember, the festival lasts for 27 days. So if you happen to hear one of our suspects say, I have nothing to say about that, it's time to start digging in another direction. Also, one of the other super fun things that we are doing for this festival, like I don't have enough going on, you guys, but so here's the other thing that we're doing, and I got to do a great shout out to Jacob Bullen because he helped me with this. We're doing a virtual scavenger hunt. So thank you, Riddle Master Jacob, because I would not have been able to accomplish this without him. When you go to our website, you will find an advent calendar that I have reappropriated because I'm all about recycling. Open the doors. One door will open each day, and they will give you riddles. Some days there's one, some days there's two, some days there's three. So make sure you read carefully. Answer the riddles. The answers to the riddles will be hidden within the titles of the books that are written or that are read that night. Fill out the form on our website on the 27th of February and get your answers into us by the 28th at noon to be eligible to win super amazing, wonderful, snazzy prizes. Now, one other thing that we are doing, again, like I don't have enough to do, we are, there we go. This share screen thing, it always takes me a little while to get used to the methodology of using it. Here we are, the author fingerprint contest. Each one of our authors is collecting fingerprints. Each time a witness comes into the Zoom room, that's you guys, you fill out your registration form, and in the which author referred you to the program, you will put in the name and or names of the author that you would like to award fingerprints to. Each time you come into the room, you name an author, they get fingerprints. They will be, they are competing for really snazzy prizes. One of them is a medal. One of them is a super amazing trophy. So far, we are at the highest level of fingerprints that we got yesterday was for Andrew Allen Smith. He got 13 fingerprints in one day. So it can be done. Here's the leaderboard for our detectives. As you see, Andrew Smith is in the lead with 13. Marianne Wieland has 10. Deborah Reed has 9. Christian Bullen has 9. And Jen Rinaldi has 9. We've collected 178 fingerprints to date. So if you know people who would like to come to this program, it behooves you as authors to invite them and to get all their friends and family and, you know, the lady at the bank and the man who's bagging your groceries and all of those people. Tell them about the festival so that everybody can collect fingerprints and we can create a greater community for the indie authors and the books that we're reading every night. And by the way, giving away every night, which brings us to, yes, the best part of the evening, the spinny wheel of happiness. Everybody loves this. I know this is Emma's favorite.
Yep.
So much fun. So every night we are giving away loot. The loot includes books and swag and other really amazing snazzy prizes. If you have registered before 6:45 p.m., your name was entered onto the Wheel of Happiness, which we will be spinning very shortly. If you have won, what you will want to do is send an email to me at diana@pagespromotions.com within the next 24 hours with your mailing address. And then the authors will be shipping out books to you postmarked by March 5th. So make sure you send me your email address if you have one. So as I pull up the spinning wheel of happiness, again, I want to thank Julie Nelson and Angela Verges for reading their books tonight. Shadows and Menopause Ain't No Joke. Before we spin the wheel, everybody turn on your microphones. I would like to have a little conversation just real quick. Say hello. Let's talk about books. Let's talk about indie authors. Here's the really big question. Festival season is coming up, and one of the most important things we do is to garner attention at those festivals. I'm going to start by putting Diana Duell on the hot seat here. So Diana, I want you to share with us in the room what is the most impactful thing that you see authors doing that gets you to recognize their book and perhaps buy it.
And they reach out to the readers and get them involved and, you know, start talking about their books so that you don't have to go up to them and say, you know, hey, what's this about type thing. The more you interact with the readers, the better. And
Awesome.
I like the events where you're all together. So then I can just go from one tent to a next and fill my wagon.
Author hopping.
Instead of walking over like 6 football fields to find all the authors, you like us all clustered together.
Yes.
Okay. Authors, please give us your tips and tricks. This is community. So I'd like you all to everybody go around the room one at a time and share one thing that you've seen that is helpful in your marketing to readers of your book. So we're going to start with Julie. One thing that you've seen that works.
For me, I try to I have like a board that I put and I like to write like a message on it. So if it's just like historical fiction or when I was at the local one, I just said it was the book was placed locally. I feel like whatever's written on that board seems to be a conversation starter for people.
Awesome. Okay, Mark McCraw, what's one thing that works for you?
Really, it's going back to relationships. A lot of people on Facebook always talk about, well, I don't understand why I can't get my books in the store, why I can't do this. And it really boils down to just, you know, having those relationships with the bookstores and stuff like that, or people that read your books, you know, getting
Absolutely.
out and doing that.
Marianne, what about you?
I found I get more interest from people at arts and crafts shows. people are interested when they see books because they're used to looking at all the arts and crafts, and then they see books and like, oh,
So it's
what
the
is this
novelty of
about?
it
Yeah, yeah.
in a new environment.
Novelty.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I
See-
get to
see,
get, yeah.
I can be a word nerd, Amy. I can do that. Mark Love, one thing.
The display that you put together for your booth, I think, is really important. I do a lot of mysteries. I've got crime scene tapes that'll go across the tables or above it on the booth itself. And
Awesome.
I always try and have, trinkets and things like this. But what I discovered the last few times is I've taken gummy worms and label them as bookworms.
I like it. I like it.
That's
Melinda.
real popular, and you just gotta watch if you get the real sour ones. The little kids kind of go, "Ugh."
Yeah.
I make sure they don't spit them out and put them back in the dish.
Yeah, you don't want little kids reading your books anyway, Mark.
I'd rather
Melinda,
not.
one thing that works for you, Melinda.
Well, Marianne actually divulged one of my best kept secrets, which is going to the out of the box events where you're standing out from the crowd. But by far, for me, my sales at live events outstrip my online sales.
Yeah.
I mean, easily 300 to
Okay.
1.
So it's about
but-
getting out and pressing the flesh, right?
And yeah, it's what Mark said. Yeah, just about establishing relationships. But one thing though that I have found has tripled my business in the past 2 years. My backlist is heavy on children's titles, but it also does work for adult titles, and that's gift set packaging around holiday times.
Awesome. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
introduced that at not this past Easter, but the Easter before that, and my sales went through the roof.
Awesome. Deborah, real quick, one thing that works for you.
Well, especially when I'm at in-person events, I typically have a giveaway, whether it's a specific book or I just say you can choose any DA Reed title. So even if people are walking by with a polite glance and then please don't look at me because I don't really want to buy anything.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of reach out and be like, would you like to sign up for the free giveaway where you can choose one of the books for yourself or for someone that you know? And because, like you said, bribery works. Everyone loves
Yeah.
something free. It comes to
Absolutely.
my table, which then starts conversations,
Yep.
which then sometimes results in sales.
Okay, we need to go real fast because I'd like to be done on time. Amy.
Okay. One of my biggest tricks is if you do it with someone, because I found it's much easier for me to promote my friend or, and say their book is so great. And then they can do the same. Actually
Yep.
works really good versus
Yeah.
trying to promote. my own.
I've had that happen. Especially pairing with Andrew at a table.
Yeah.
So simple. Angela, what works for you?
Being engaging, having something positive to keep the crowd motivated and coming back, like on social media.
Yeah, awesome. Jen Rinaldi, what's something that works for you?
The craft shows, like everybody else said, speeches that I do in line, and also just online stuff. I have a QR code in my book to bring people back with the images that I create back to my website.
QR codes are awesome. Chloe.
I like bonus content. I'm not sure it gets people to buy the original book, but I think it makes the relationship better. I think people love that
Nice.
extra
Yeah.
little thing. So I have side stories that people can download for free. The one I'm reading tomorrow night, I have a bonus a short story from the
Awesome.
dog's POV. I have alternate universe endings sometimes. They're just quick, short, goofy
Yep.
things.
That's a good
But
idea.
people like them.
Good idea. Extra content. Katie, what about you?
Have that pitch, that like quick few lines pitch, and if you can, make it like a full body thing. I do kid fiction, so kids love it when you're animated and engaged.
Absolutely. Emma, what's a marketing tip that works for you?
Visuals. Absolutely. With my optical illusion poster of the face of gossip. That draws like people in and they don't want to leave, and then they listen to me.
Awesome. Awesome. Jennifer Rains, what works for you?
I'm very new. So I'm fascinated with the conversation. I've tried postcards, which have enabled conversations to start, which seem to be useful. And I'm experimenting with the extra stories and scenes and things like that on the blog.
Okay, great. Gary, what about you?
I did like a writers group, which was very interesting. I also had a friend of mine who did an art gallery.
Nice.
And it turned out I was the artist in residence. And there's nothing better than the one-on-one things that you get with people.
Yeah.
If they like your stuff, the best thing they can do is, if they like your stuff, is say, when are you going to write the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mark Bello, what's one marketing tip that works for you?
Well, podcasts, blogs, newsletters, advocating for those people and topics that I write about.
Absolutely.
That's,
Jan Franklin,
that's
what about
mostly what I
you?
do.
What works for you?
I write about small towns, and so when people do that whole, like she was saying, where they look, they don't want to look at you, I just say, hey, do you live in a big city or a small town? And that always generates conversation. So I mean, I could see it being applied to lots of things, like, do you like, if you were going to be in a fight, do you like a broadsword, or would you rather use magic? I mean, you could do lots of different things to get people to come to stop and turn and look at your table.
That's a great idea. I love that conversation starter. That's awesome. Miss Joan Young, what about you? How do you best promote your books?
I think I get the most response when I build relationships with people. I may talk with them for 10 seconds at a vendor event. I do a lot of sales at vendor events, but if I can get them coming back or friend them on Facebook, I think that works well. And I've been away for more than a year, as most of you know.
Yeah.
But
we'll talk about that another night. But yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Jean Davis said that a lot of people were asking for me for my books last summer, which is phenomenal. So
this summer you got to hit all those shows again.
I guess it's working.
Yeah, yeah. Deborah Harris, you are new to our group. Are you an author, ma'am? Deborah? Are you an author? You're new to our group. Okay, awesome. Betty Passick, tell me, what works for you as an author?
Well, I tried something different this year. I'm doing a writing contest.
Nice.
And I've done press releases, and several papers have picked those up and are so I'm getting free advertising. And then my hope is to be able to follow up with those people who've made entries or submissions and ask them to do to read my books and to give me a review on Amazon.
Contests are a great idea. Mandy Jo, what works for you?
I have to pop in and say that Betty's most recent book won a pretty awesome award, if you don't know.
Yes, it did. It was pretty awesome. Check it out on Facebook. It's definitely there. Mandy Jo, what works for you?
Actually, I started doing the Authors in Grocery Stores program and saying hello to everybody, whether or not they look at me.
Yeah.
And most of the time they do turn around, but you always get that person.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all encountered that.
And the guy that was smirking the entire time I said hello, and he was looking straight away, but I knew he heard me because he was smirking. So it's like,
That was Andrew.
They could have been Andrew. Jacob, what's a marketing tip that works for you?
With our in-person events, it's been all about presentation. I have a lot of visuals in my event. I keep my booth very colorful. I say hi to everybody, engage in eye contact. I have cute kids that are hard to ignore. I use them as well.
Absolutely. Mackenzie is a student. Am I correct, Mackenzie? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Student and author, but not published yet. But we'll.
Okay. Well, wasn't she published in The Drifter?
Oh, you're right, silly me.
Mackenzie was published in The Drifter, our anthology that we did over the Halloween holiday time. autumn last year. So yeah, Mackenzie may be a student, but she's a published student, by golly. And oh, it was the gift. Okay, Mackenzie, thank you. I do so many books. Chelsea, are you an author to us? Your name is new to me. Are you an author or are you a reader person? She's being very quiet. She's lurking in the shadows.
Maybe she stole the manuscript.
Possibility. You never know. All right, let's get over to the spinning wheel of happiness, everybody. Thanks for your input. I know that this is going to help other authors who come in and watch the program in replay. So thank you, everybody, for your feedback. Okay, let's do the spinning wheel of happiness. Let me make sure that my audio is working because, you know, it's no fun if the audio doesn't work. Okay, can you guys see the wheel?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Tonight we are spinning the wheel twice. That's right, 2 times. The first wheel spin is going to be from Jules Nelson. She is giving away a copy of Shadows and a really snazzy, amazing t-shirt that she built. Hold on. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can show you the amazing, incredible t-shirt that she built, because it's amazing and incredible. And now I have to share my screen again. See, technology and Diana. Hey, without reading is like, just kidding. I have no idea.
That's cute.
Good one.
So that's what you'll get from Jules if you're up on the first spin. And on the second spin, Angela is giving away a copy of Menopause Ain't No Joke, which, if you're a man and you get this book, first of all, it's great for insight, but it also makes a wonderful gift. So that's what we're doing. We're going to spin the wheel twice. Let me again get to my spinning wheel of happiness. Okay, you ready? Here goes. This one is for Julie Nelson's book and t-shirt combo. Oh yeah, I was hoping. Isn't it fun when you win stuff? So much fun. Okay, the second is for Angela's Menopause Ain't No Joke. Here we go. Congratulations, Chloe. Okay, you guys, make sure you send me your mailing addresses in an email in the next 24 hours so that I can make sure that I push those to the authors and they can get your book shipped. Thank you, everybody, for an awesome evening. The interrogation was super fun. And again, tell everybody you know, because this is only going to get more and more interesting as the month goes on. We're on the trail. We're hot on the trail of a manuscript theft. We're gonna get them. We're gonna get them by the end of it. And if we don't, I know who did it. So there you go. All right. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out tonight. And we will see you in the Zoom room again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Watch for the replay at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.